Welcome to Top 10 Archive. For the most part, we all enjoy a good, scary story. But it seems even Hollywood's best writers are having a hard time writing horror. When the bigwigs fail, you can always count on the internet to provide. And when it comes to tales of terror, provide it did. Creepypastas are the internet's main source of horror, and we've gone ahead and compiled 10 of our favorites in this truly terrifying installment. Turn out the lights, cuddle up with your favorite pillow, and don't mind the rushing of the leaves outside your window. Number 10, No End House. Would you take on an 8-room haunted attraction for the price of $500? Sounds like a simple score, right? It probably is, unless the attraction happens to be the elusive No End House. With each room, No End House starts to become less of a venue for entertainment and more of a real living hell. Dancing shadows, an impossible forest filled with invisible insects, and a terrifying demon haunt the various rooms of No End House, driving those brave enough to step inside to the brink of insanity. At some point, the story takes a spin in territory akin to 1408, as David, the narrator, finds himself taunted by the house's horrifying rooms. So again, ask yourself, would you take on a haunted attraction for $500? If it cost you your sanity? Number 9, Anansi's Goatman Story. Some creepypastas borderline something that may have once been an X-Files episode. Like this tale of the elusive Goatman, a shape-shifting being that inhabits the woods of Alabama. This particular creepypasta isn't written very well, but it does get the point across. A group of teenagers spend the night in a trailer by the woods, only to find themselves terrorized by a creature known as the Goatman. Like John Carpenter's The Thing, there is this interesting element of paranoia as the number of people in the group keeps fluctuating, leaving the narrator and company to wonder who or what the additional face in the crowd had been. If there's one thing to be taken from Anansi's Goatman story, it's that if your father suggests you take a rifle for your excursion in the woods, you may want to take him up on that offer. Number 8, Abandoned by Disney. Real terrors and gruesome deaths surround Walt Disney's fantastical theme parks, so scary stories surrounding its legacy isn't really something new. But Abandoned by Disney is something unique about the abandoned Treasure Island Resort in Baker's Bay in the Bahamas. After blowing $30 million on the location, Disney abandoned it, turning it into a haunting ghost town. Abandoned by Disney is one individual's trek through the ghost town as he explores every facet of it. Everything is pretty much as you'd expect a ghost town to be: abandoned, creepy, and full of whispers, until he enters the mascot's only area. Here, the narrator gets a little taste of the horrors that inhabit this magical ghost town in the Bahamas. The ending bears one of Mickey Mouse's more sinister catchphrases. Wanna see my head come off? Number 7, Mr. Widemouth. Most of us have had imaginary friends growing up, but I doubt many were as creepy as good old Mr. Widemouth. Reddit user PerfectCircle35 recounted a tale of his childhood and his attachment to a small creature known to him only as Mr. Widemouth. The Widemouth being comes to the narrator during a case of mono, spending the first few days marveling at the afflicted's collection of books and objects. When that grew tiresome, though, Widemouth came up with a new game to play, leaping from the second story of the house.
I like to play pretend up here,
Mr. Widemouth states.
If you pretend hard enough, you bounce back up like a feather. I want you to try.
The haunting invitation by the disproportioned creature is followed up by even more eerie activities like knife juggling. At the story's conclusion, Mr. Widemouth invites the narrator down a special path and, well, we would hate to ruin the ending for you. Number 6. The Russian Sleep Experiment. An urban legend states that in the 1940s, Russian researchers exposed 5 people to an experimental gas with the intention of keeping them awake for 15 days. Locked away in climate-controlled environments, these 5 individuals did what any sane person would do after being kept awake for a prolonged period of time. They went insane. At the end of the experiment, the subjects were found in states of partial mutilation, flesh and muscle torn from their bodies by their own fingertips. One subject lay dead, used as a food source by the other 4, despite food rations having been provided. Had the subjects simply gone mad from exhaustion? Or did the research awaken something primordial from deep within? Number 5. Emily's Facebook. For those that have experienced the death of someone so close to them, it's difficult to not want some sign that they are okay, wherever they may be. For Nathan, he may have gotten more than he could have wanted when messages started flowing in from his deceased girlfriend's Facebook page. At first, they were simple hellos, but as time passed, the complexity of the messages increased. The nonsensical messages keep coming, and Nathan realizes that they are recycled portions of previous chats they had had. That is, until a message with the word freezing comes through. It's a story that is both sad and unsettling, leaving us to question what really happens after we pass on. Are we stuck in some cold abyss, trying desperately to reach out to the ones we love? Number 4. Jeff the Killer. Jeff the Killer is a noseless, white-faced man with creepy, beady eyes and a Glasgow grin. The story is said to have been pulled from a local newspaper chronicling a series of unexplained murders and a story told through the eyes of a young boy that is said to have escaped Jeff. After moving to a ritzy neighborhood with his rather normal parents and brother, Jeff starts to harbor intense feelings that manifest in a series of violent attacks against the neighborhood bullies. After one such attack, Jeff's face is burnt off, sending him into a psychological breakdown none too different from the clown prince of crime, the Joker. They say Jeff is still out there, and should you ever awake to an ominous figure standing in your doorway, just pray he doesn't utter the simple phrase, "Shh, just go to sleep." Number 3. Pen Pal. Pen Pal took creepypastas to new heights by being a series of lengthy short stories that the author, Reddit user 1000 Vultures, or Dathan Auerbach, eventually turned into a full-length novel that can be found on Amazon. The novel is compiled of several short stories, footsteps, balloons, boxes, maps, screens, and friends, and each section chronicles a different portion of the narrator's life, introducing something new and horrifying within each tale from his childhood. From the search for a missing cat that leads to grim discovery, to unexplained Polaroids, the tales are neatly interwoven to create a truly memorable and enjoyable read that unfolds different pieces of the puzzle that was his childhood. Number 2. SCP Foundation. Probably one of the most elaborate creepypastas out there, the SCP, Secure, Contain, Protect Foundation is an elaborate creation that just keeps growing. The Foundation mimics something along the lines of Hellboy's Bureau of Paranormal Defense, protecting against and informing of the creepy crawlies that threaten mankind's sanctity. With over 1,500 entries, SCP started on Reddit's paranormal board and is now a massive creation that has spawned terrifying video games and quirky fan films. Amongst SCP's most notable captives is the Euclid SCP-173 that must be watched at all times, and SCP-682, which is based off of the real findings of a decomposed whale carcass. Number 1. Slender Man. For a while, Slender Man was all the craze. From video games to countless YouTube videos, Slender Man was just a simple creepypasta that garnered quite a bit of attention. Slender Man is said to be a faceless individual, pegged as being anywhere from 7 to 14 or 2 to 4 meters tall, with shadowy tentacles protruding from his body. Few have lived to tell their tale of encounters with the towering being, but those that have speak of his haunting nature, possible possession of mind control abilities, and a creepy connection with children. One of the more impressive aspects of the Slender creepypasta is how creative minds created an entire history for the tall man in black, stemming all the way back to Brazilian cave paintings. Unfortunately, Slender Man became so popular that in 2014, he was used as a justification for two 12-year-old girls who tried to stab their friend to death. According to their story, they thought that by killing their friend, they would become Slender's servants and protect their families.